Hey guys, quick announcement before we get into the show. I just wanted to announce our new sponsor, fantasygo.com. It's an awesome website where you could go to. Me and Perry both signed up as analysts, so you could actually go on there and hire us to set your lineup for the week. It's cheap, it's super easy to use. It actually syncs up with your Yahoo, and we can see your waiver wire, your scoring rules, your entire team, and make moves for you if you want us to, or we could just give you advice if that's what you're into. And it gives you a direct line of communication with us. So it's awesome, super user friendly. Right now, it's available on Yahoo or for Yahoo, and it's about to launch for every platform. So go ahead and sign up on there, and hire one of us to set your lineup or your favorite analyst, which I assume is us. So get on there and do that. And I'll link our profiles on there at the bottom in the description of this video. So make sure you guys go on there and hire us. It's awesome website. Just gives you a chance to connect with your favorite analysts and have them set your lineup for you. So yeah, get on there and do that.
What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. It's the 18th of October, 2019. I'm Justin. As always, I'm joined by Perry.
Hey Justin, I was thinking today, if you were a Transformer, you'd be Optimus Fine.
Oh man, I knew it. I saw that one coming and I loved it. And today, it's our Friday episode, so we got a guest on. This Sam, he's the guy we told you about from our last episode. So Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on for my first official fantasy football podcast debuting on the air here. So, a little bit about me. I am grew up and live in Wisconsin currently, and I'm a high school social studies teacher and a track coach by day, and a fantasy football junkie in all of my other spare time that I don't always have during the school year.
Nice.
Yeah. You write some articles and stuff for fantasy, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Right about the middle portion of the summer, I got brought on to the Dynasty Factory Football group, and kind of had a couple guys reach out to me and started writing for them. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun just to have an opportunity to have a platform to put some content out on and learn along the way.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. And you're actually the winner of our first giveaway we did for the show.
That is true. That's what I hear. I got an awesome signed Le'Veon Bell jersey hanging up right now. It's awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Ooh, I dropped some stuff. Disregard that. Yeah, it's our Friday episode, speaking of, so we're actually drinking some beers.
Yes, we are.
That's what I knocked over, was the cap to the beer.
At least it wasn't the beer.
Yeah, right? Priorities.
I'm having a Kilt Lifter Scotch Ale from Pike Brewing here in Seattle. It's like a local favorite. Everybody knows about the Kilt Lifter. So if you ever come up to Seattle, try and grab one.
Love it. Love it.
How about you, Sam? What you got?
Actually, a local brew from Wisconsin as well. So drinking some Spotted Cow, which is only made here
I've heard
in
of
Wisconsin.
I've heard of Spotted Cow.
Yeah.
All right.
Our buddy Darian tried to bring me back some, but I don't know what happened. There was some reason why he couldn't bring it.
Because he drank it on the way, I'm sure.
Probably, knowing him.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So it's only brewed in Wisconsin. It's only sold in Wisconsin. So I've had some college friends and some family that live out of state, and they always try to come back and get some whenever they can. It's pretty good. So like you said, it's a good local flavor.
Yeah, I need to try that.
Yeah,
What about you, Justin?
I got an Alaskan Cold Creek Ale. Yeah, it's a little bit different than my normal, but I like it. I usually have the dark beers, so.
I've only ever had the Alaskan Amber, so that's I haven't had that one before.
It's pretty good.
We might have to ship some stuff back and forth here after the
Right?
show.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, well, we got a lot to get into today.
Yeah, you want to get us into
looking
some news, Perry?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. I'm gonna cover, or let's chat about the game that happened last night first, or
Yeah.
I guess it was a game that was embarrassing, man. As a Denver fan, I I have no excuse. Joe Flacco is trash. He's really, really bad. Even it's bad when the announcers are talking about how bad the quarterback is, and they were just flat out lacing into him.
I feel like he did something to offend the offensive line.
No kidding. Some bright fantasy sides here from Denver. Cortland Sutton still looks good, still getting tons of targets. Some incredible catches actually, despite Joe Flacco. I'd like Cortland Sutton going forward.
He killed me with that catch on the one, though. I'm like, come on, fall backwards.
Yeah. I'm sure Sam can speak to Sutton and Dynasty. I think that's probably a pretty exciting prospect going forward. But
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's had at least 7 targets in every game this year. So, like you said, kind of in spite of his quarterback play, he's producing. And heading into this week, he was a wide receiver 1. I mean, he was wide receiver 12 overall in PPR heading into week 7.
Yeah, I like Cortland Sutton a lot. Justin, you've been preaching it all year.
Yeah.
With him. Hey, it makes me excited as a Denver fan. I think he's startable, right? Of course he's startable. He was a wide receiver 1, like he said. Might not hold on to that this week because he didn't get the touchdown, but he'll be very close to that mark. Running backs for Denver, both Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, right around 35 yards, 11 and 10 carries. Lindsay leading in that category, but just by 1 carry. So who really cares? Freeman got the touchdown. So if you did start Freeman, you're probably happy with that. On the Chiefs side of the ball, I'll get into the Pat Mahomes news a little bit once I go over the news, but he did leave this game with a knee dislocation, which never something you want to hear. It's a bummer for Pat Mahomes, but I think the Chiefs will be okay without him. Matt Moore looked good against a fairly strong Denver defense. I think the issue, like Denver gave up 30 points, but I think the reason they gave up 30 points is because they couldn't get off the field. Because the Denver offense couldn't do anything. LaShawn McCoy led the team in carries at 12 for 64 yards. Pretty efficient day for him. Receiving, Tyreek Hill was a ghost until towards the end of the game when he had the big 60-plus yard touchdown. Saved me because I had to start Tyreek Hill in our main league. Travis Kelce, 6 targets, 44 yards. And then the rest of the lineup going down. Not a whole lot to talk about, except Mecole Hardman did find the end zone, so that's good for him. So
yeah, I was telling people too that the secondary in Denver is really good. So like
it is. Yeah.
I started Tyreek in a league as well, which I was happy with because I wasn't expecting him to have crazy numbers, but I mean he found the end zone, which I was starting to get worried up to that point.
Yeah, we've kind of learned to go ahead, Sam.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to ask, as a Denver fan, how are you feeling about Noah Fant so far this year? And just simply looking at the box score, again, 1 reception for 7 yards on 5 targets, and I saw a number of people, tweeting about it and posting about it last night that he just doesn't look good. I mean, he's obviously very talented, but what are your thoughts on him?
I agree that he doesn't look good, but I agree that he's talented. Mm-hmm. I think everything he's done so far this year is despite Joe Flacco. I don't care that they won 2 games in a row, right? That means nothing to me. I don't know why Joe Flacco still has a job in Denver, to be completely honest with you.
He's a tall quarterback with a strong arm, and he fits the mold in Denver.
Yeah, I guess so. I will say that rookie tight ends have a track record of not performing in the NFL.
Right. I would agree.
So I'm excited for his future, but not this season. I mean,
not redraft fantasy.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in a deep league, in a deep redraft league, if you had to stream somebody for a week, you could find the end zone. But he should be owned in Dynasty, definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to some of the news. I've kind of got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to fly through it real quick.
Hold on real quick. When you were talking about Noah Fant, I really wanted to say you mean not a fan. But I actually am a fan, so I'm like, I can't use it, but it's too good to pass up.
That's fair.
Thanks for sharing, Justin.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so the big news that just came out this morning, Alvin Kamara is ruled out for Week 7. It's a bummer. This was the number 1 pick for some people, definitely a top 3 for almost any league. He's been ruled out Sunday. I have been saying all season that if you own Alvin Kamara, you need to own Latavius Murray. I know Sam's going to talk about Latavius Murray a little later in the episode, but he's an auto start now. Definitely high end RB2. He could see RB1 numbers, but the Bears defense is really tough. So don't get discouraged if he doesn't give you Alvin Kamara like numbers. He's not Alvin Kamara. Just keep that in mind. Todd Gurley doesn't have an injury designation going into this week's game. That's good news for Todd Gurley. I think that if he's playing, you're probably still starting him. But just remember, he's on that pitch count, it seems, every game. If he gets the goal line work, then he's going to be fantasy relevant. So Devontae Adams is still out Week 7. Sam, how do you feel about that? Green Bay fan. Devontae Adams, turf toe.
Yeah, not just Devontae Adams, though.
That's
right.
true.
Yeah. Geronimo Allison looks like he's doubtful.
Yeah,
Marquez Valdez-Scantling looks like he's questionable, whatever that means.
The last report I read said that all 3 of them are most likely not playing.
Right, and heading into this week, I actually think it's an okay week. They're hosting the Raiders at home this weekend, and I think that's a very winnable game for them. I expect to see a lot of Aaron Jones, a lot of Jamal Williams. So I'm not as worried about it. I'm glad they managed to squeak out a win over the Lions. Obviously there's a lot of some debate about some questionable calls in there, and I understand that. I mean, from a fan perspective, I'm happy to get a win. Yeah. But I would rather not rush Devontae Adams back. But it's crazy because wide receiver used to be one of the deepest parts of that Packers roster for the longest time, and they kind of let go of Jordy. They let Randall Cobb walk and sign with Dallas, and now suddenly they thought they had a good young crop of guys, and they're getting hurt and they're not staying healthy.
Yeah, I know there's some talk about Jimmy Graham missing too.
Mm-hmm.
If he does play, do you think he's probably a good start this week considering the options that are missing?
Right, and it like you said, it doesn't take much to finish top 12 as a tight end on any given week. If you find the end zone, you're probably going to be in that top 12 category anyways. So again, like you said, if you're desperate, if you need someone to start, you're probably going to have to at this point.
Sure. Okay, let's see here. Just talked about. So we'll move on here to Pat Mahomes. I already alluded to this early on, but the dislocated kneecap in the game against Denver on Thursday, they're saying he could miss 3 to 5 weeks, and they have a bye week 12. So I think the earliest we're going to see him is probably after that bye week, right? Week 13. As long as they're winning, they see no reason to rush him back, right? All they care about is the playoffs. So
right, and I was going to actually bring up a point with him. So just kind of looking at the Chiefs' schedule with that late bye, and I saw someone post this before, which kind of helped me remember it. So okay, let's just say he sits out. Next week he's got Green Bay, Minnesota, Tennessee, the Chargers. Then they're on bye. So then the fantasy playoffs essentially start pretty quickly after that bye. So if you're a Pat Mahomes owner in redraft, Week 13 Oakland, winnable game. Week 14 you're at New England. Week 15, they're back home against Denver. Week 16, they're at Chicago.
So you're saying sell?
That's what I'm asking. I mean, so like if you're really looking ahead and you're saying, okay, look, weeks 14, 15, 16, they have Patriots, Broncos, Bears. I mean, is Pat Mahomes going to be startable then anyways if he's even a little bit banged up?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And even last week we were saying that you could sell Pat Mahomes right now because of that schedule. I actually brought up that fantasy playoff schedule, and I'm selling Pat Mahomes if I own Pat Mahomes, and ideally you would have sold him before this injury.
I was going to say, I think you might have to wait a week or two now to get some value out of him.
Possibly.
Just because I think you'll get more value when he's about to come back from the injury.
Right, like you said, if you miss the week window, you got to wait a little bit now, otherwise you're going to end up selling too low.
Yeah, I mean, I preach it. It feels like every episode, but this is the problem with drafting quarterbacks early.
It's so true.
It's like, now what do? You have to roster 2 quarterbacks because what are you going to do? Let Pat Mahomes go to waivers?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on here. Darren Waller. You guys heard about his big extension. I think that's awesome. I'm really excited about Darren Waller going forward. Dynasty again, even this year with Darren Waller. The guy's probably the best receiver on the team, at least most athletic and talented. So They've locked him up through 2023, making about $9 million a year. He's an RB1 candidate every week, so that's how I feel about it.
Tight end.
Yeah, I was.
Or
Yeah,
sorry, tight end.
I was surprised they committed to him mid-season like this. I mean, for fantasy purposes, I love it, especially in Dynasty. But he's got such a high floor. Like you said, he's probably the best receiver on that team, the best pass catcher. So to see them lock him up this soon is nice.
Yeah. Not too much surprises me from Gruden.
Yeah, at this point, nothing really can.
Yeah.
It's strange to see, but that's exactly what I've come to expect from Gruden.
Right. I would agree.
Definitely. Saquon Barkley practiced fully on Wednesday. He's practiced fully. He's cleared to play Sunday, is the latest news. What we talk about when guys come back from injury, that a lot of times you might not want to start him right away. Saquon is not one of those guys, in my opinion. If he's on the field, I'm starting him, especially on that terrible Giants team. So
yeah, you can't not start him. And I'm actually kind of glad that the Saints sat out Kamara as early as they did, because as a Kamara owner, even if he's banged up, even in the tough matchup, like I would have a hard time sitting him just because of his ceiling, especially in PPR. I mean, he might only rush the ball 10 or 12 times, but the pass catching is there. So I'm glad there's clarity at least.
Yeah.
I mean,
that Giants team, it's going to be a transformation from last week. They also got Evan Ingram coming back.
That's true.
So, I mean, two of their best players coming back, and I think, and Sterling Shepard's back this week too.
They're pretty much getting their offense back, which is good.
I saw Sterling Shepard still dealing with the concussion. He's still questionable. So
I thought I read like 30 minutes ago he was just cleared.
Oh, well, perfect. Great.
Breaking news. Outstanding.
Okay. Jalen Ramsey dealt to the Rams. We didn't cover this before our last episode. It happened just after Justin.
Yeah.
Do you guys think there was anything wrong with his back?
No,
he was missing
absolutely
time.
not.
It looks like he left his back injury behind him because he was cleared. He's cleared. He's healthy.
Yeah, that's funny. I think that's good for the Rams defense if you're using them. They did trade away Marcus Peters. So I don't know. Jalen Ramsey, one of the best talents at cornerback. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, he's a great man to man. So that's a matchup you want to watch if the Rams are playing.
Exactly.
You have your number one wide receiver playing against the Rams. Means Jalen Ramsey is going to play.
Yeah, because I mean, as a Julio Jones owner, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So when the Marcus Peter trade went down, I was like, all right, man, Julio's finally going to have that game, like that 12 for 203. Just one of those monster games. So then I'm like, well, okay, is Ramsey going to shadow? I don't know. How many snaps is he going to play? Apparently he's healthy, so we'll see.
Yeah,
and Julio is one of the few wide receivers too where he can still have a game with that coverage. So that's good.
Rumors going around. Kenyon Drake is on the trading block. I think everybody in Miami is on the trading block, right? Like nobody wants to be there. They don't care about this season.
Yeah, I heard that actually the Miami Dolphins are on the trading block. Like they're looking to just trade them to another city.
Hey man, they've got a bright future with all those picks.
If they don't do something with that, though, man, right? The potential's there.
Man.
It's ugly. That's one of the worst teams I've ever seen.
What if they just trade them all to the 2021 draft? Trade back.
They just keep trading, perpetually trading back
until they have an entire draft of their own.
David Johnson is officially a game time decision. Things were looking up earlier in the week, but I was kind of surprised by this game time decision designation for him. Chase Edmonds, I think he's startable. Even if David Johnson plays, I think Chase Edmonds is startable. So I know my wife picked him up. Hope she doesn't listen to this. Actually, I don't think I'm playing her, so she could start him. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not playing her this week either, so play him.
Yeah, start Chase Edmonds, Kinsey. Jimmy Graham, we just talked about. Josh Gordon is currently dealing with multiple injuries and is unlikely to play week 7, which is unfortunate, man. I said this before. I really like Josh Gordon. I really want him to be successful. I just hope he can stay healthy. It could be that they're just trying to keep him around, make sure they have him for the playoffs. So
and I'm gonna get into some of those Patriots players down in our start sit area. And a thing to keep in mind is, they don't play till Monday night. So if you're waiting on a guy like that, like if you're that desperate, A, make sure he's in your flex spot in case something goes wrong. B, if you have other options and you're very risk averse, I mean, again, you're waiting for a Monday night game.
Yeah. I'm personally not waiting.
Even if you have him in your flex spot, you're going to have another player that's in that Monday night game.
Right. Correct.
Maybe Jacoby Myers or something like that, one of their other receivers. But,
yeah. There's one that I'd consider that I have later in here we'll talk about.
For sure. Okay, that's all the news I had, Justin. You got some news that nobody cares about?
I do. So, yeah, news no one cares about. Did you guys see the Green Bay linebacker, Zadarius Smith's sweet Joker visor? Yes.
The visor is so good.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I will be putting a picture of that up while I talk about it. So, everyone out there will see it right here. Yeah.
Hopefully over my face.
Now it will. So, and then also the Lions fans put up a billboard with the refs with cheese heads on it in Detroit this week.
Oh no.
It was pretty bad. Those are some bad illegal hands to the face calls.
The offensive lineman sold it too. He leaned back with it. If the ref was behind him, I could completely understand why it was called, but he sold it. That sucks, but good for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Even as a guy who lives in Wisconsin and as a Packers fan, a win's a win. You'll take it, but I didn't feel great about it.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I've felt that way a few times. I've had bad calls where the 49ers have won. I'm like, man, that sucks. But we won.
I'll take it. But yeah.
I put it in quotes because Myles Garrett called him a fan. Fan came up to Myles Garrett in his car and punched him in the face.
What? Really?
Yeah, in traffic. He thought the guy was going to ask him for a picture, so he rolled down his window, and the guy punched him in the face and ran away.
I just can't even... Why? Just why? Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Myles Garrett, if you're going to punch someone in the face, make it like a kicker or a quarterback, someone whom you might be able to take in a fight.
Go hit Andy Dalton. All right, I think you're safe there.
Yeah, punter or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah. I guess Janikowski's not a punter, but I'm definitely not punching Janikowski. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know. I think I could outrun him.
It's true.
And I just had a procedure done on my ankle, and I still think I could outrun him. All right. Kyle Shanahan said the best part of working in Washington was working with his dad, and the worst part was everything else.
But rumor has it they have a great culture there. That's what I keep hearing. Right. That the culture there is it's so great that one of their best players just refuses to collect a game check every week.
Right. Yeah, and I just find it ironic that it's a great culture and the name of their team is the Redskins.
Yes.
You should probably stop using that word. Culture and both instances. Devontae Adams tweets out that Green Bay has the best running back duo in the NFL, and if you think otherwise, you're on meth.
Oh, I saw that.
I did.
Are you guys on meth, or do you think they have the best running back duo?
I'm going to plead the fifth on both cases.
Oh man, I'm thinking about it. San Francisco gives them a run for their money.
Right.
Yeah. But it's good.
What's
a good duo.
Right. I mean, they're utilized well. I mean, they got something going for sure.
Finally.
I feel like that's a bold statement, though. I think they have a great duo, but I think there's quite a few good duos out there. I love the Vikings, Arizona.
Sounds like you're on meth right now, Justin.
Flying high. All right, but that's all the news no one cares about.
Okay. Thank you for that. So we're going to do some start-sit today, guys. We have a big list of players here, a lot to get through. This might be a little bit of a longer episode. We'll do our best, but basically we'll tell you why we're starting these players or why we're sitting them. So Let's kick it off here. Sam, you're the guest. I'll let you go first between Adam Thielen and T.Y. Hilton.
This one was actually pretty close for me. It was the only one where we had two guys from which to choose, but I ended up going with Ty in this one, going with T.Y. Hilton simply because I think his matchup with the Texans is going to be a little bit more favorable than Thielen's will be against the Lions. The Lions do have some very good corners. Again, watching them this past week against the Packers up here in Green Bay, they got some good lockdown corners. They play man-to-man pretty much straight up.
Yeah.
And I do think the Texans Colts game will probably be a little bit more high scoring. So I'm going to go with Ty for this one.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Darius Slay. I think he's one of the better Titans, one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL.
Yep.
So I think if he mans up on Thielen, then absolutely Ty's your guy. So I'm gonna go with Ty just because I'm not sure who Slay is manning up on.
I wanted to go Thielen. I really did. I like Adam Thielen, but
yeah,
just looking at it, Hilton's the play. In 14 career games, he has 76 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So against the Houston Texans. So just because of that was kind of that. And then Kirk Cousins is bad at playing football. So that kind of lead me.
He's doing better, though.
I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
You just weren't feeling it?
I just wasn't feeling it. Yeah.
No.
So we're all going T.Y. Hilton there. No doubt. I like that one. Moving on here. So this one, we have 3 players to choose from. That's Burita Coleman. I kind of interpreted that as you could play the duo if you had the duo versus Le'Veon Bell. So go ahead, Sam.
For me, I'm actually going to split that duo. If I had to pick one of the 49ers backs, I'm going to go with Tevin Coleman. I know he's a little bit more recent coming back off of injury, but just some things I jotted down here. Over the last 2 weeks, Breida has seen a 34 and 36% snap share, respectively. Coleman has seen 34 and 55, so he's up to 55% snap share these last 2 weeks. And over the last 2 weeks, Coleman has actually outcarried Breida 34 to 24. So he's getting more volume. They've both scored the last couple of weeks as well. So if I had to pick one, probably go Coleman. He's on the field more. He's seen more opportunities.
If it's PPR, does it change it for you at all?
Not necessarily. And again, Breida's gotten some more pass catching work comparatively to Coleman the last couple of weeks, but Coleman by himself is still a very capable pass catcher, and I would definitely see him getting more up to speed. And again, the Redskins are 20th against the run. So again, it doesn't really matter who you start, but if I had to get nitpicky, I'd go Coleman. And not that I don't think Le'Veon Bell's a good play, but again, it's Monday night against the Patriots. Yeah, he could get a lot of dump offs. He could be a fine PPR floor. He could find the end zone, but I just think your upside's higher with against Washington.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I picked Coleman as well. I actually picked Burita second over Bell. Bell was my third choice here, purely based on matchup, right? Everything you said about Coleman is why he was first for me. But Bell, Monday night against New England, they're going to scheme against him. It's all they really need to worry about. And then the team up in Washington is so bad that I'm going to play that matchup every single time, even beyond this week. So, yeah, I'm going Coleman, Burita, then Bell, even though Bell's super talented. And like you said, he may get like 8 receptions, but oh man, I think you're just playing a risky game there.
I agree, and the Patriots are very good at taking away your number one guy. Exactly. And again, I mean, they're going to lock down on Robbie Anderson. Stephon Gilmore's probably going to be on Anderson, and Anderson could still have a nice day. Again, he could break one, he could see some targets, but like you said, I mean, they're going to take the Jets' best players out of the game as well as they can.
Yeah, and the Jets don't have a lot of them to take out.
Correct. Yeah, you take out Bell and Anderson, and that's pretty much it. Unless Crowder gets like 17 targets again, I mean, it's just not going to happen.
And I am interested to see Herndon. He's coming back this week, so
as long as he doesn't hurt himself running routes again, we'll
right in the warm-ups or something.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I actually like Breida more this week. Just because of the pass catching and a PPR. I think that he's harder to guard down the field because of his speed. So I could see him actually breaking a long pass or something like that. So I'm going to play the upside with that. I think Coleman has the safer floor, though.
Exactly. I was just about to piggyback off that. I think Breida has a higher ceiling, Coleman a higher floor. But I like them both this week, man. I think if you got them, start either one of them. So
Yeah, if you got them both, you might as well play
yeah.
the matchup, like you said. Play Washington defense as often as you can.
And I gotta say that first one was a little bit biased because in our main league I have all three of them.
That's fair.
Asking for a friend, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so the next one, I went ahead and deleted one of the players because he played Thursday, so I didn't think about that when I wrote up the show notes. So we're just going to go with Joe Mixon or David Montgomery.
But I know.
Yeah.
This one was
Right?
hard.
Go ahead, Sam.
right.
I'll let you go
Let's-
first
Sure. I mean,
because I'm a gentleman.
well, I appreciate that. Letting me take the first step here. I'm gonna go Joe Mixon only because I don't like either one. I don't really like the matchup either way. But looking at the Saints versus Montgomery, the Saints have not allowed 83 rushing yards to a single runner all year, and Montgomery has not rushed for more than 67 yards in a game this year. So I mean, I don't see Montgomery breaking his season record for a game, and I see the Saints continuing just to lock down. I just think even with Teddy under center, the Saints are going to control that game. I just don't see Montgomery having much of a role. If anything, probably Tariq Cohen will probably have more of a role in that game. So if I had to pick the lesser of two evils, not that the Jaguars are a great matchup either, but I mean, you drafted Joe Mixon probably fairly high. I feel like you just got to keep starting him at this point.
I would say the Jaguars are probably a better matchup than you think. 29th ranked against the rush. So
Okay.
I agree with you. I'm starting Joe Mixon, and I agree with you. I don't want this to be my choice when I'm setting my lineup at all. I like David Montgomery. I thought he was really talented coming into the season, even before the preseason hype train that happened. I still liked him, but yeah, I'm starting Joe Mixon, and I'm hoping David Montgomery breaks out this week so I can finally start enjoying how good he actually could be, but I don't think it's this week.
Yeah. Do you think his limitations are more coaching based? And again,
Yes.
being up here in the NFC North, I hear a lot of Bears, I hear a lot of Packers, Lions, Vikings, but just watching the Bears utilize him or not utilize him, again, even just as a football fan, has been frustrating. Not that I want Montgomery to be the new stud in Chicago as a Packers fan, but again, from a football perspective, come on.
Yeah, as soon as I started seeing Tariq Cohen getting carries, I was concerned. It's like Tariq Cohen was a wide receiver last year.
No, week one when you saw Davis getting carries.
Right. Yeah. It's like, what are you guys doing? You have the talented young back. Use him, because his lifespan in the NFL, I mean, could be 4 years or 5 years. So it's like,
and I think the matchup is even worse than if you don't have Teddy Bridgewater under center, because if you have Drew Brees, he's going to throw the ball downfield and he's going to score quick, which is going to put the offense back on. But with Bridgewater, they throw those short passes and they run the ball and they eat up that clock.
yeah.
Right. And with Kamara and Jared Cook already being ruled out of that game, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater might have to throw to Michael Thomas 30 times, and they're going to crank out some 14-play drives and just grind down the field.
Yeah. Justin, I assume you're on the same page.
Yeah. So Joe Mixon, he's also the more versatile player. So I think he's going to get more pass catching opportunities there too. So even more so in PPR. But either way.
Okay. Okay, we're 3 for 3, but I think this is where
the second one I went with Breida.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just saw them as a unit.
I got you.
This next one, I think we might have some parity, though. It's Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, and Allen Robinson. If you're starting one, which one is it?
I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks for this one. And the reason why, I think it'll be a good bounce back game for the Rams. Cooks has had some trouble getting going, but kind of like how you say, you play your guys against the Washington defense. You got to play your guys against the Falcons defense. And I was looking at some of the over-unders for the games this weekend, and this game has the highest over-under of any game yet this weekend at 54.5 right now. So again, if you're telling me the final score is going to be, I might even take the over. I think both teams are going to throw the ball a bunch. You said Gurley's still kind of a game time decision. I don't even know if Malcolm Brown's going to play. So, I mean, the Rams might be trotting out Darrell Henderson, and that might be it. And Atlanta can't afford to keep losing more games. So they're going to have to throw, and they're going to have to score a lot of points.
Yeah. Well, I teased parody and I lied because I'm also taking Brandon
Nice.
Cooks.
There we go.
Person with Diggs, I don't really care what he did last week. My opinion is go do it again. I'm not going to chase points.
Right.
My gut initially was to play Robinson because every game that he's played, he's been quite good, startable. But I agree. Everything you're saying against the Falcons, they're the 31st team against wide receivers. Brandon Cooks is going to beat them deep, like at least once this game. I firmly believe it.
So
and yeah.
I agree. I also have Brandon Cooks, but
There we go.
Yeah, I reconsidered it with the trade of Jalen Ramsey, and I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I should put up Allen Robinson out there, but then my better judgment got me, and I went back to Cooks. So
I mean, do you think Marshawn Lattimore is going to cover Allen Robinson in that game?
Yeah.
Right. And, Lattimore's had an up and down season. He was just getting absolutely toasted in the first few games of the year. But, I mean, he's played well the last couple of weeks.
Very well. Yeah.
He has taken the top receiver out of the game entirely.
Yeah. And like I said, my better judgment came back. I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I know, right? I got excited for a minute, like, oh, this is gonna be bold.
I'm feeling dangerous tonight. This is going to be great.
Maybe not. I didn't drink enough.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs, my recommendation to anybody that's listening is don't chase the points, right? He may very well go out and score another touchdown, but if you think he's going to score 3 more touchdowns this week, just temper those expectations a little bit.
That team is still going to run through Dalvin Cook.
Oh, yeah.
Again, people will say, hey, the squeaky tire gets the grease, gets the oil. So, Thielen kind of spoke up a little bit. There was some public displeasure. Same with Diggs. And Diggs, actually sat out of practice and just didn't show up for a little while. There's some trade rumors floating around, but they each had a couple of nice bounce back games, but they're not going to suddenly go away from what's made them successful up to this point.
Yeah, I need Alexander Madison to start complaining now.
Yeah, right? No kidding. If that's what it takes.
Right, no kidding. Okay, so this one, maybe we'll have parity here. I don't know.
It's possible.
Three running backs, 2 of them on the same team again. That's Todd Gurley and then Frank Gore and Devin Singletary. I guess if we're starting one, we got to pick one of these, unfortunately. Who are you picking, Sam?
I'm going to go with Mr. Reliable. I'm going to go with the safe play, what I think is in Frank Gore. And I know Devin Singletary was taken completely off the injury report today, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it this way again. Gurley, it's iffy. He hasn't been as involved in the screen game that's made him so successful in the past. Again, not that he can't be successful. We know what he can do when he's healthy, when he gets the carries and the looks. But if you're looking for a good safe floor play, I'm going to go with Gore because, you can run on the Dolphins. Everyone knows that. You can run on them as much as you want.
I think you can pass on them, too. You could basically do whatever you want to the Dolphins.
That is so true. And like you said, I think they're up for trade right now as a team. So, like, if you're looking for a home run play, if you want to throw in Singletary, if you're already staring down a big deficit this weekend and you're playing a team that you're probably not supposed to be, throw in Singletary. I mean, you look at just his yards per carry from this year and limited action, but he's cranked out some long runs. But if you're going for what I would consider to be the safe conservative play that's going to guarantee you some volume, go with Gore.
Okay. Justin?
I am on board with Devin Singletary. I am so excited for this week for him. I think this will be the week where, coming back from the injury, he came off the injury report. That was my big concern with him. And I think they're finally going to give him that opportunity to get some carries. And he like you said, he's been producing. It's been limited, but I think he finally overtakes Frank Gore for the position because if he's doing good, I think they're going to transition to him fairly quickly just because Frank Gore is pushing 70. So, they're going to have to make that transition sooner than later.
Well, didn't the Bills have like a combined age of running backs at one point in the preseason that was like 90 years old?
100.
Yeah.
100.
It was 100 years old? Yeah.
Between 3 of them.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm very excited for Singletary for sure. And I would agree with you. The big question for me today and heading into this weekend was Singletary going to be cleared as being healthy? And we got the clean bill of health for him today. So absolutely, he's a great guy to fire up. And, if you're really desperate, you could probably treat the Bills backfield like you would the 49ers. I mean, if you have them both, there aren't too many teams you can probably start 2 running backs against and get, solid flex plays out of both against the Dolphins.
Man, I just love that Frank Gore is still fantasy relevant.
No kidding.
Isn't
He's
that
like
awesome?
the ultimate safe RB2 year in and year out.
Yeah.
Well,
Perry?
I think we finally have parity here because
Yes.
I'm going to take Todd
Yes.
Gurley. Okay.
Oh,
Now, I don't disagree with you guys. I think if anybody were to play Frank Gore or Devin Singletary, I wouldn't laugh at them. I wouldn't say they were wrong. Uh, but as soon as Todd Gurley came in with no injury designation, Malcolm Brown does have an injury designation. They're playing the Falcons. That means they're moving the ball. That means they're going to be on the goal line at least once, right? They might not even get into the red zone because they might score from out of the red zone every time, but they'll be in the red zone at least once. I think Todd Gurley finds the end zone. I'm not expecting a bunch of yards from Todd Gurley. I think he'll score a touchdown or two this week. And that's it. I guess I'm chasing the touchdown. You guys are chasing the floor. That's fine. I like all three. I think if you had this choice, it's just play one. I think you're going to be happy either way.
Right. And Gurley could post, 10 carries for 40 yards and fall in the end zone two different times. And
Exactly.
you're gonna be extremely happy with that decision then.
Yeah. I don't like Todd Gurley rest of the season though. Everybody just
Right.
I just want to share that again.
And again, if you just look at the over under and you say, okay, this game's got the highest over under of the weekend.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of points scored. We might be looking at, maybe close to 60 points scored. Gurley's gotta get some of those. He has to.
Exactly. I think something went horribly wrong this week if Todd Gurley doesn't find the end zone. That's how I
Right.
felt about it. So
Yeah, and I would be in favor as well, like you said, with Brown officially being out, Malcolm Brown. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be a timeshare between him and Darrell Henderson. Gurley's gonna get the bulk of the work.
I agree. Okay, let's move on here to DK Metcalf, Jamison Crowder, and Josh Gordon. So now that we know that Josh Gordon could be missing time,
yeah. I'm saying I'm going to anticipate if he's playing. Let's go with that.
sure. Go ahead, Sam.
Sure, for sake of discussion, we'll assume Gordon's playing. I'm still gonna go DK Metcalf against the Ravens, and kind of how you reminded me earlier that the Jaguars matchup isn't quite as tough as it used to be. We're a little bit removed now from the Jaguars being the elite defense. And they're kind of a defense in name now, and people still look at that and go, "Hey, that's a tough matchup." And I think people are still looking at the Ravens in that same way, and it's not been the case. It hasn't been.
That secondary struggling. It's not been a good secondary this year.
Absolutely, and Russell Wilson just lost his key tight end. Not to say that Luke Wilson or somebody else can't fill in, from a football perspective, but at least from a fantasy perspective, Metcalf's been playing well. His snap share, as far as rookie wide receivers go, if you look at his class, he's second only to like Terry McLaurin in terms of just sheer volume of being on the field. So he's getting the opportunities. Wilson's playing at an MVP level. I don't think he's thrown a pick yet. So again, it might be a fairly low-scoring affair. The Seahawks might have to find a way to win it at the end, like they normally do. But if I had to pick, again, I'd like to go DK Metcalf, just because Crowder, the matchup's not great against the Patriots, like you said, and Gordon not comfortable trying to go with a Monday night guy who's banged up.
Speaking of McLaurin, just something I read about him real quick was he has through the first 5 weeks of the NFL, fantasy wise, for a rookie, no one has got as many fantasy points as him since who was it, Randy Moss.
Yeah,
that is a nice comp. I like that.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin's dynamite.
Wow.
Here, I'll go next. I'm with you again. DK Metcalf is my guy here.
Yeah.
That secondary struggling. Will Disley's out at tight end. Those targets got to go somewhere, and I think DK Metcalf is going to find the end zone.
Man,
he's only had one game this year where he scored or where he had less than 68 yards. I mean, 68 and a touchdown, and I'm happy with somebody that's probably like a wide receiver 3 or a flex play in DK Metcalf. So.
No, right, like if you're starting him, you're not playing him as your wide receiver 1 or your wide receiver 2. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, so I love this. I'm also on board with DK. I think he is actually in position to become their number 1 wide receiver there.
Interesting.
Eventually, yeah.
No, I think this season.
Ooh,
so that's hot, man.
Now we're getting somewhere. I like this. Let's go.
Pass the milk, dude. That's a spicy take.
For Seattle, the number 1 wide receiver there. He's just got to pass up Lockett. So, and with Disley out, I mean, Disley was doing great. There's more receptions to be had. And I think he's the more reliable. He's the bigger body. He's going to find more end zone targets because of that. So
I think what Seattle has always lacked is that solid possession receiver. And DK Metcalf could be that.
Yeah, he needs to become that.
I agree. I mean, hey, he can't do the 3-cone shuttle or whatever it is. That's like his only shortcoming, and you can only run in a straight line. But you know what? Just toss it up, and he'll go get it. But in all seriousness, like you said, and kind of a question, what you said about DK maybe being the number one receiver there, maybe sooner rather than later. We talk about regression all the time, and guys that play really well and kind of break the traditional efficiency molds, if you will. Lockett was scoring at an unsustainable rate in the past. His touchdown efficiency, right? And that's kind of my point. At what point do we say, look, Russell Wilson is just the magician back there. The way he does things, the way he operates through the game.
Absolutely.
At what point do you just say, look, what Wilson and Lockett can do? That's just kind of like their new norm. Like you can't just plan on regression with them because they kind of break all standard efficiency markers.
So I do agree that you will see. I think you'll see some regression, but I do think you'll see more in Seattle for those metrics than you will on other teams. But that, to me, like, that doesn't take anything away from DK. I don't think it's just a connection that he has with Lockett. I think it's the way that Russell Wilson plays to extend the plays. So he gets those deeper passes for, longer bombs or touchdowns. So, I mean, that also benefits DK because DK isn't slow. He can run down the field too.
Yeah, he's fairly quick.
I think Tyler Lockett's numbers have a lot more to do with Russell Wilson than they do with Tyler Lockett's skill. Obviously, he's a good player, right? He made it to the NFL. You can't be a bad football player and play in the NFL. But Russell Wilson, Justin and I have talked about it. Everybody wants to crown Aaron Rodgers as the most talented quarterback playing the game until Pat Mahomes did his thing, right?
Oh, but careful, Perry.
Russell Wilson, I mean, he needs to be in the discussion. Yeah. That guy carries that team to the playoffs or almost the playoffs almost every year. He's incredible. I mean, Russell Wilson's incredible.
Yeah. And what was that touchdown pass he dropped in a couple weeks ago? Was that
to Lockett?
Yeah.
Right.
To Lockett again.
Again, he was rolling left, like his body wasn't even facing the end zone, and just drops it in. It's like you said. I mean, I had the chance to watch Russell Wilson a little bit closer to home during his last season at Wisconsin when he played in college.
That's right, yeah.
And you watch this guy play, and you're like, okay, this dude's got something special. Like he's just a gamer. Like he just knows how to find ways to win.
Yeah. I think he's probably the MVP so far this year. Either him or Deshaun Watson, but my vote would go to Russell Wilson.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Let's move on here to some quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins, or Matthew Stafford?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Perry is not choosing Kirk Cousins.
Because he's hashtag not good at football.
Let me just, I'll start. Okay.
Go ahead.
The cat's already out of the bag. I'm not starting Kirk Cousins. I'm not chasing those points. That team does not want to play through Kirk Cousins for good reason, right? They're not going to make it back to the Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins throwing the ball 45 times a game. They're not. Fight me. I dare you.
I mean, they paid him like they want him to, though. That's the frustrating thing.
See, I've said this on the show before. The MVP in Kirk Cousins isn't Kirk Cousins. It's his agent.
There we go.
His agent is a god. All right. I want his agent to work for us because Kirk Cousins is making guaranteed money everywhere he goes and is doing nothing with it. He's a sub 500 quarterback. Okay. Moving on.
So you're choosing Kirk Cousins.
No. Okay. I hope he continues to improve for the wide receiver's sake, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not betting on him. I also don't want to bet against the Vikings defense. I think the Vikings defense is still good. So I guess I'm going to go with Phillip Rivers. It's a hard one, though, because they're playing Detroit, I believe.
The Titans.
The Titans, thank you. And the Titans defense is also very good. But with Hunter Henry back, with Melvin Gordon back, which opens Austin Eckler up for more unique, creative options. And I just think that he has more weapons around him. Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback. I don't necessarily want to be in the position to have to choose between these three guys, but if I had to, it's Phillip Rivers, just based on the weapons around him, and he's not Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you in the sense that I don't want to have to make this choice. Just kind of looking like, could any of these guys sneak into the top 12 and finish as a QB1 for this week? They could, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a little bit of a different path here.
Yeah,
now, I'm not starting Kirk Cousins.
Real quick,
but
how I did this was I took players that were all just outside the top 12 on this one for quarterbacks.
Yeah, you did a great job with this. I'm going to go Matt Stafford. You kind of reiterated all of my disdain for Kirk Cousins from a football perspective. Again, that team is still going to run through Dalvin Cook. Yeah. And for me, I think my recency bias is kicking in a little bit. I will fully admit, after watching the Steelers defense just trash the Chargers last weekend. It wasn't great. And yeah, Hunter Henry's back, and that's awesome. He scored a couple of touchdowns, so that's huge. But, Melvin Gordon has struggled to get going. Eckler, they're not really sure what to do with either of them yet, it looks like. They're kind of hurting each other from a fantasy value. I'm going to go with Stafford just because I think he'll have to throw a little bit more. I don't feel great about it. I'm glad I'm not having to make this choice. But if I had to pick one, I'm probably going to go Stafford.
Okay.
Yeah, it was close between Phillip Rivers and Stafford. I just think that – sorry, Justin.
Oh, go ahead.
What we got last week out of the Chargers is not – the Chargers. It was ugly. That was one of the ugly, other than Denver against Kansas City last night. It was one of the worst games of the season offensively. So
yeah, I completely agree with you, with both of you. There is a league where I am in a situation similar to this, and it's horrible.
Yikes.
And unfortunately for me, Rivers was not an option out of these. So I took Stafford, but in that league. But if the two of them were available, I'm actually going Rivers this week. I think he has better, just better targets. Like the players on that team are better. I think he's had a rough 2 weeks, so I expect a bounce back from him.
Yeah.
And there's just so many. Such great talents on that team to pass catch, from running back all the way to wide receiver. So
I would agree.
Yeah, I think that he's going to have a bounce back week where, people are going to miss out on it because of his last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to be a quarterback one, but I think he'll be the number one quarterback, but I think he'll be a QB1.
Okay. This means nothing in fantasy football analysis. But Phillip Rivers is super competitive, and I don't think he is going to be happy with the way last week ended.
Right.
So I think he's out to kill this week.
He wasn't happy with how last week ended, right at the end of the game when he was grabbing the defensive player.
That is true. And before we jump ahead, I wanted to kind of circle back to something that I thought of when you said, hey, the Kirk Cousins' real MVP is not Kirk Cousins, it's his agent.
Yeah.
Getting guaranteed money. There was a tweet that was sent out after Brock Osweiler. I don't know if you heard, guys. Brock Osweiler, he retired.
That should have been in the news nobody cares about, Justin.
Big news.
I dropped the
the
ball there.
So I will circle back with my own version. If you don't mind, I don't mean to intrude here.
No,
please.
All you.
Here's the Brock Osweiler news that no one cares about, but everyone should care about. So here we go. He never started a full season. His career record is 15-15. He's a 500 quarterback. He has a 37-31 TD to interception ratio. He won a Super Bowl. He retired before age 30, and his career earnings are over $41 million.
Yeah. You probably heard this, but being from Denver, I know all the Brock Osweiler crap. He never met with the Texans. They never met him in person before they offered him that
Really?
deal. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Never met him in person, offered him that deal.
So Brock Osweiler or Paxton Lynch, who would you go with?
Oh God. Osweiler, I guess. One game?
Sure, yeah. You got to pick one game.
One game, Osweiler.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But anyways, if I could be anybody in a previous life, Brock Osweiler, man, with that kind of money to retire before 30 with a ring.
Nathan Peterson's made a career out of being bad at football.
Nate Peterman.
Oh, Peterman.
Nate
Yeah,
Peterman?
Peterman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stats that were going around for him last year were hilarious.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
Like he
Yeah.
could go out and throw 30 interceptions back to back and still have a worse QB rating than Pat Mahomes.
No, yeah, Pat Mahomes could go out and throw 30 interceptions.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad.
All right.
All right.
All right. Last one, guys. All right. We got Jamal Williams, Marvin Jones, and Philip Dorsett.
Yeah, this was the flex play.
Yeah, this definitely a flex play. That's what I went for here.
Yeah.
They're all
go ahead,
flex
Sam.
players that are ranked around 33.
I'm going to go with the homer pick. I'm going to go with Jamal Williams for this one. Similar to what I mentioned earlier, with the Raiders coming to Green Bay this weekend. I think it's a game the Packers are going to have to rely on their running backs because they're probably going to be down their top 3 wide receivers. I still think it's a winnable game for them, and they're going to take that very much committee approach to using both Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones had a 4-touchdown game against Dallas and then pretty much disappeared this last week against the Lions. Jamal Williams had over 100 yards. I think they'll both be involved. I think they'll both be relevant. And that speaks, I think, more to that matchup. Jones against the Vikings, divisional game. Vikings still have a good defense. And then just don't feel comfortable. Philip Dorsett's probably a good play, but Monday night game, he missed this last week, still a little banged up. So I'm going to go with the volume play with Williams.
So I'm gonna cop out on this one a little bit. So I'm also taking Jamal Williams because they're missing all their wide receivers, and I think they're going to need him to go out and catch the ball.
Right.
That's if you need. Okay, I'm taking him overall. if you can't start a running back, you have to start a receiver. Between the two receivers that are options here, Marvin Jones and Philip Dorsett. If I know he's healthy and he's playing, and Josh Gordon is not, I think I'd start Philip Dorsett over Marvin Jones. But I don't know that, and I can't make that decision with Philip Dorsett playing Monday night. So it's Marvin Jones if I need a receiver, but Jamal Williams overall.
So I love Jamal Williams this week. I think he's going to have an amazing week. So for me, this one's easy for Jamal Williams. But I also love Philip Dorsett this week, just not nearly to the extent as Jamal Williams. I think Philip Dorsett's going to do just fine this week. I think he'll have a few catches. And Marvin Jones, I'm not that thrilled with. He's been hit or miss and not consistent. And like you said, it's divisional rival, so I'm not excited about that matchup there. So I'm going Jamal Williams for sure, and like Philip Dorsett is a distant second, and then Marvin Jones is way back there for me.
I like Marvin Jones. I don't know why. I feel like he's got the talent to be number one, but just never happens. I don't know what it is, man. Kenny Golladay, though. Maybe Kenny Galladay's the reason this year.
Well, it's interesting you say that, though. I mean, the Packers were treating Marvin Jones like the number one this last week. I mean, they had Jair Alexander, who is arguably their best defensive back, on Jones most of the game. So, some people who just look at box score, they're like, man, Golladay had a great game. He had some big plays, over 100 yards receiving. Jones pretty much shut down, but I mean, the Packers intentionally took that route. I don't know if they just viewed Jones as more of the threat there, or if that's just how the lineups matched up. But
yeah. But I wonder if Xavier Rhodes will do the same thing.
Right.
He might. I would really like to see Marvin Jones on a team with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, like Tom Brady, like Pat Mahomes. Like, I really think he's a really good wide receiver, and his career is kind of wasted with Stafford, but.
He was kind of a target for me in redraft leagues a little bit, just because he could be had for fairly cheap. And if you were a contending dynasty team, he's not a bad guy to have either. Because again, you probably could have had him for next to nothing, relatively speaking. And he's on a team that likes to throw the ball a lot. I mean, Stafford, if nothing else, he packs the box score with a lot of throwing. So
for sure.
Before we get into your dynasty topic, Sam, I wanted to ask you something that you kind of just touched on with. In a dynasty, how do you feel about how do you value a younger player compared to how you devalue a lower player or an older player?
Yeah, age obviously is a huge indicator with that. I think situation goes along with it a lot too. And heading into this year, I was actually very optimistic for Marvin Jones. The emergence of Kenny Golladay, I think, would draw some of the attention away from. Sorry about that. Chair just kind of back for a second. I think he would have been a great dynasty add this year if you were looking to compete this year, because he's on a pass happy team. He's on an ineffective offense, a team that's going to put up some points with a quarterback that likes to throw the ball. So obviously age is a huge factor with dynasty, but situation does mean a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Situation, I mean, that's where people like us come into play, right? Is
Right.
analyzing situation. It's easy just to Google the numbers, the stats, the targets, whatever it is you're trying to find out. But situation is what really matters
for sure.
when it comes to analysis.
Yeah, or I mean, you could Google rankings, of players and just draft directly off that. Like I think a lot of people do. But I like to have a good mixture on my dynasty team of like older and younger players, just to try, because I know then following year I'm probably going to drop some of those older players to make room for the rookie draft.
For sure. And you got to have that balance. And there's nothing wrong with kind of trying to sell out for a year and going for the title. And I think sometimes, and I've discussed this with people before, I think sometimes dynasty players get too hooked in with like looking to the future all the time. Like you're always planning. And it's like, you play to win. I mean, you got to win those titles once in a while. As much fun as it is to have, all this youth and all this upside to be finishing third or fourth every year. If that's what you want to do, great. But
you have the most upside every year. Congratulations.
That is me right now. That is me right now. All right. Let's move on here. This is a long episode, so if you guys are still with us listening,
we're good. We're good.
Oh, we're good? Okay,
yeah.
Thank goodness. I'm just having so much fun. I don't want it to end.
Man,
Sam, you're obviously big dynasty guy, which is great because Justin and I have done redraft forever. We've had a dynasty league for a while now, and have a lot of fun with it. We think we know what we're doing. We try to make good choices, but
we focus a lot more on redraft than we do dynasty.
So you've got a couple of topics here you wanted to cover. I'll let you just take the floor, and we can go back and forth.
And we've touched on some of these guys already, but we're kind of getting to that point of the season now where we're like roughly halfway through the dynasty regular or the fantasy regular season, being like 6-7 weeks in here. And now's the time where if you're in contention, you kind of know where you're at right now. If you're in the top half of your division, and you should really be planning then for that playoff run. So, locking down some bench depth, maybe going for some high upside players. And just the two things I wanted to bring up were like two of my favorite running back handcuffs for the rest of the year. And unfortunately, with the news that came out today, both of these guys, it might already be a little bit too late. So I might be a week late here. I was kind of hoping I would have another week. But Latavius Murray, first of all, we've heard for the longest time that the Saints' backfield has more than enough potential to support multiple fantasy relevant running backs. And for a while, it wasn't happening this year. And you could attribute some of that to Drew Brees going down and the team just maybe not being as effective from a fantasy perspective as they would like to be. They're still winning football games. But Murray's kind of been an afterthought until really just these last couple of games. I mean, he's averaged 10 touches a game the last 2 weeks. He's been able to handle a larger workload in the past, and I think he's a better pass catcher than people give him credit for sometimes. So, again, the Saints also signed Zach Zenner this week, which is more of a depth add. And again, this afternoon, Kamara was already announced as being out for this week. And like you mentioned earlier, he's a volume play. I mean, he might kind of put up like a Leonard Fournette type game where he's going to get guaranteed volume and the efficiency might not be there, but he's essentially going to get all the work out of the backfield.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. I am the Alvin Kamara owner in our main league, and I do own Latavius Murray.
Perfect.
And my choice this week was Miles Sanders versus Latavius Murray. And for somebody that might not be as well read in fantasy as we are, like, you just look at the rankings and it might be like, well, I'll just play Miles Sanders, right? He's the 27th running back, and Latavius Murray is the 50th. So it's understanding how a handcuff works, I guess, is super important.
For sure. And then the second guy is Chase Edmonds. And he's been kind of getting some traction here the last couple of weeks as that Cardinals offense as a whole is kind of figuring out who they are. They got a rookie head coach, they got a rookie quarterback, they got a whole slew of guys on offense who, there's a lot of mouths to feed when that offense is clicking. But, David Johnson hurt his back a little bit, was kind of maybe questionable for this past week, and then just kind of showed out and played really, really well in what was a really good game for the Cardinals. And just, again, running up points on the Falcons, which a lot of teams can do. But in the last 2 weeks, he's 18 touches and 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks for Chase Edmonds. He's a small guy. He's shifty, but he's got a lot of burst, and he's more than capable as a route runner and a pass catcher. And even if DJ plays, he's got some borderline flex value anyways, and he's essentially almost a back-end RB1 at minimum if Johnson were to sit, because there's nobody else on that team really of value from a running back standpoint.
Yeah. I absolutely love Chase Edmonds. I think because he's small and shifty, he's great on that offense. When you get that mobile quarterback, he can find himself out in the field catching passes. So I think he's fantastic. And because you have a rookie quarterback there too, that is the mobile quarterback, they're going to have a long future together. So, so I really like him there.
Speaking of the future, going forward, who do you like more in Dynasty, DJ or Chase Edmonds?
If I'm competing this year or next year, I would say if my team has a window of time this year or next, I'm going David Johnson, just because he's starting to look like he has been the past couple of years as an elite running back. Again, the efficiency might not be there on the ground, but he's a great pass catcher. But if I'm rebuilding right now and I'm not totally tanking, but I don't have really a window of time to win this year or next year, or maybe in the future, I think Edmonds is a great buy low. Not to say that the Cardinals couldn't fill the backfield maybe with a rookie next year or in the next couple of drafts, but like you said, they got their guy. They got a young coach, a young quarterback, a young running back in his second year who fits that system. I mean, the Cardinals are top 5 in the league in terms of total plays run, so he's going to get the opportunities just being on the field.
Yeah. I think if DJ goes down with another injury, even if it's a minor this year, I like Chase Edmonds even going into next year.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of weird to think David Johnson could be losing his job within, a year and a half from now.
Right. He's only a couple years removed from saying he wanted to rush for 1,000 and, catch 1,000 yards, and then, had the wrist injury that set him back for the majority of last year. And it's been great, again, from a fantasy perspective to see him play well. But when you have a young guy like Edmonds who's flashed like he has, it's encouraging for Edmonds.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. Well, I think that covers everything for today, though. We really appreciate you coming on, Sam. What's your Twitter handle where people can find you?
Yeah, I am at Samuel_DFF. So at Samuel_DFF.
And where can people find those articles that you've been working on?
Over at the Dynasty Factory Football Network is where I do a lot of my work. Again, they're linked to the websites in my bio, and if anybody's ever got any questions, feel free to hit me up.
Awesome. I'll throw your Twitter up here on the bottom of our video so everyone can find you as well.
Well, I really appreciate you guys having me on. This is great.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see everyone on Tuesday.